and welcome to BASECAMP, the best way to start your day. I'm Jack, and I'm really glad that you joined us. BASECAMP is a tool that helps you develop the habit of spending daily time with God. And today, we are wrapping up the first major movement in the book of Exodus. We've been talking about Exodus and large chunks of time so far. 40 years here, 400 years there, and I figured it would be helpful in this BASECAMP to do a recap of God's people who were once upon a time welcome in Egypt, and now we find them in Exodus enslaved and oppressed. God had heard his people and promises to free them, and then to fulfill promises that he made to their ancestors hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So, he raises up an unlikely leader in Moses, who is a doubt-filled murderer. God commissions Moses and gives him power so that the Israelite people would believe. But when Moses confronts Pharaoh, things get worse, not better. And we find ourselves at an absolute low point so far in the story. Moses has tried, and things just got worse, and people gave up on Moses, and it feels hopeless. Moses, though, has new instructions, and the real hero, the Lord, is ready to deliver his people. And that is where we find ourselves here today. So go ahead and open up your Bibles to Exodus chapter 7, and we'll be looking at the first 7 verses today. So go ahead and read chapter 7, verses 1 through 7 right now. So the instructions are made even more clear here. God lays it out plainly for Moses and Aaron. He says, Moses, Aaron, go and demand that Pharaoh let my people go. And he will refuse. The passage says that, and this is God saying, I will bring down my fist on Egypt. And first of all, from my perspective, holy moly, that sounds terrifying. I don't want God's fist on Egypt that sounds scary. God is so powerful. But God is saying this because he's saying that he will rescue his people with great acts. And because of that, Egypt will know that he is God. But there's passage, God says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart. When you ask him, he's going to say no because I will harden Pharaoh's heart. Wait a second, right? God did that? Why would he do that? What does that mean? And if we're being honest, this is a passage and a concept that is complex and challenging and confusing. It would be significantly easier to just ignore it and move on, but that's not what we do here on BASECAMP. It also just gives us so many questions, right? So if God hardened Pharaoh's heart, is God making Pharaoh do this evil thing? Is God preventing Pharaoh from being sorry and letting them go? What does this say about free will? Was this not Pharaoh's decision at all? What does this mean for me in my heart or my family that doesn't love Jesus? Well, one of our CVC youth leaders, Kyle Gustafson, spoke in main service this weekend and delivered a wonderful message and gave us a really great picture of what it means for God to say, I hardened Pharaoh's heart. So go ahead and watch this clip.
So my wife, Amy, and I have 2 kids. Ezra is 4.5 and Lydia is 2. We have 2 dogs. And this is the foundation of a long-running source of conflict in our family life. And that source of conflict is dog food. It's in our kitchen. It's in a bowl, floor level, that a 2-year-old can grab and eat. Thousands of times we've moved the bowls up to the counter, or we wait till the kids are in bed to feed the dogs, or we try to distract them with the toy, or we bring them to another room, or we go and offer them real human food from the cabinet that is right next to the dog food that they have access to. And as this continues to play out, at some point, this response becomes if you want to eat dog food, fine. Go right ahead. Eat the dog food. And this is what is happening with Pharaoh's heart. He's an evil man. He's prideful, he's stubborn, and he feels like he's in control of his whole world and his whole kingdom. He doesn't know God, and as far as he's concerned, he doesn't need God. And the hardening of his heart is that God is going to let Pharaoh to continue to behave in the way that he is because it's what Pharaoh has already chosen to do.
Now, I know this doesn't explain everything. You still may have a lot of questions, but the foundation is there, right? God kind of just let Pharaoh eat the dog food. God let Pharaoh be stubborn and mad because God is in control. And God is the hero. And so we can be confident that this will work out in Israel's favor. This is the end of Act 1 of the book of Exodus. We're moving from preparation and purpose for what is going to happen, and now it's time for God to show his power. See you guys back here soon for another episode of BASECAMP.